Hello, hello. Welcome to the PG-ish podcast. I'm Erin with your parental guidance to help you grow yourself as a parent and raise healthy, happy, and successful humans. I heard the health and empowerment coach and author Jenn Cassetta speak at a conference in February and knew I had to meet her and have her on the show. Not only because she's a badass, it's true, she actually wrote the book, The Art of Badassery, but also because the skills she teaches are profound for any adult navigating adulthood, especially for women. And as a girl mom, I'm hyper aware of this. Jenn's mission is to help people feel strong, safe, and powerful. Sure, she has a background in martial arts, but she spent the last 2 decades coaching people to feel strong, safe, and powerful from the streets to the boardroom. I think you're going to love Jenn as much as I do. Check it out. I'm so excited to have you here, Jenn. I heard you speak earlier this year at a conference, and within the first 10 minutes, I just knew that I needed to have you on PG-ish. And I think a lot of women felt that way because I know you were very popular that day, and it took me until that evening to hunt you down.
Thank you.
But you have such a powerful story, and I know we're going to get into it. But you've recently authored the book, The Art of Badassery, Unleash Your Mojo with Wisdom of the Dojo. So why this story now?
Yeah, it's been in my heart. I wanted to write a book for so long. I created a keynote called The Art of Badassery in 2018, and it definitely wasn't as developed as it, is now over the years. But it was basically 5 steps on how to kind of feel more empowered, But it wasn't until I actually sat down to write in 2020 that all of a sudden this idea came to me to incorporate my martial arts background into the structure of the book, into using the metaphors for the book, and then adding all my stories to the book. So it's really just developed over time. But like I said, it's been something that's been on my heart for so many years after coaching and listening to so many women who have told me their stories of being burned out, of being manipulated, looked over for promotions, verbally, mentally, even physically abused, right? As a self-defense expert, those are the stories that I heard over and over again. So I finally decided that The Art of Badassery, is basically a framework for women to help them reclaim all that power back.
Yes. No, that's perfect. And I think for women, we settle into this story, this narrative that we're not as great as we are, or we take on that shame and that self-blame. And this is the time to empower women. So thank you.
Done. I don't want to hear those stories anymore.
Right? I know. I listen and read in so many different things. And I read something, and I can't quote it, but it was, we stay stuck in a familiar hell rather than moving toward the unfamiliar heaven that we want. And I just think yeah, we need to just take those steps and reclaim who we are.
Yeah, that's a great line. I love that.
You can steal it since I stole it from someone else. Who knows where it came from? Yeah. And I think as a mom too, having daughters, and I think you've seen it. Actually, I know you've seen it because I saw it on your Instagram, but just the latest CDC report of this horrible report of, the state of teenage girls right now.
Yes.
And just a rate of depression and suicide. And it's just really sad.
Hopelessness that was the word that they used in that report as well. And little known fact about me that for 10 years, I worked as a nutritionist at teenage mental health treatment centers up in Malibu. And, just a few hours a week, but I was their nutritionist. So I was dealing with not just girls, but a lot of girls, a lot of eating disorders, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. So I may not be a parent, but I had a front row seat to how bad it can be out there for these kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So tough. But I want to dive into your book because I love the analogy of using the belt system in martial arts. And can you walk us through it, starting with the white belt?
Yeah, sure. So like Erin said, the book is laid out chapter by chapter, and it signifies the belts that a martial artist would walk through, or test through, really, from white belt all the way to black belt. So the white belt level is called Embrace the Suck. That's chapter 1, because as a martial artist, we all start out as beginners, completely, kind of like showing up to the dojo, getting onto the mat, learning to get hit and kicked and punched in the face for the first time, and knowing that this is going to continue to happen until you get much better at this thing called martial arts, called life, right? For the metaphor. And it's going to hurt, essentially.
Yeah. Exactly.
So knowing that, I think, is half the battle. I think a lot of us, we especially, we're on Instagram, we're on social media, we're watching people's highlight reels and going like, oh my God, what, poor me that I'm going through X, when look at this person, they just have the best life. And I truly think no one has that best life. I think everyone is going through something, maybe not in the moment, but, you know, is coming out of it, about to go into it, in it right now. And that's just the cycle of life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I tell my kids that all the time of like, okay, life's going to be unfair. Like things are going to suck. You're not going to win every, like, you know, my oldest daughter ran for president. I'm like, you might not win. Nobody knows you. It was right when we moved to San Diego. And she's like, I want to run for president. I'm like, great. But do you know 0 people, you know? So I was like, I want to support that, but I'm like, I don't know how well this is going to go. But why not start in 5th grade and see how this goes? So,
oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's great.
Teaching that resiliency when you're young is important.
Totally. And the first chapter starts out with the advice my mother gave me, which essentially was life isn't fair, after I came home to her, like crying that I had this horrible breakup and complete betrayal and blah, blah, blah. And she was just like, yeah, life isn't fair. Now what? Now how do you want to respond to it? Right? How do you want to move forward from it? And that's where the power really lies.
Yeah, exactly. I think you should have seen my notes that I took from the conference listening to you. But I think something you said was, you know, reimagining a new life and future for yourself, like giving yourself that grace to reimagine a new way. It's just powerful.
100%. So that's second chapter is yellow belt, and that's bouncing back, right? And how on the mat we have different ways of being able to fall down and get back up. And we literally drill them over and over and over again. So it becomes more easy and you get back up with more velocity and grace each time.
Yeah.
Same in life, right? We can pivot, we can roll with the punches, which is basically like bracing for impact. Or sometimes we need to completely recreate our lives when something is taken away from us, like a marriage, like a relationship, like a person, like a job, right? And it's about first giving yourself that grace, but second, like really thinking outside the box. Not just letting life kind of like mold you and you're just like going along for the ride, but actually saying, no, this is what I want it to look like on the other side of this. This is what I want to recreate for myself. And it's really just about being proactive versus reactive.
Yeah, that's really great. I think taking that action, that ownership too, is so important, because so many times we take on the stories that like, well, this is my identity, like I'm a failure. And it's like, no, like maybe you had a hard day, but that's not the story of your life.
Right. And you may have had a really hard life.
Yeah.
Right? So many people have such like horrible, tragic things happen to them as kids, teenagers, young adults. And yet sometimes those are the biggest, best comeback stories. The most motivational stories, inspirational stories I always read about or hear usually come along with the greatest tragedies.
Right. Yeah. They can be great catalysts for sure. Which I know you have a story of 9/11. I don't know if we'll get there, but
yeah,
I loved that story too.
Sure.
Well, what was that a catalyst for? Moving into more dojo?
Well, yeah, getting to the dojo and really diving in and overcoming some serious PTSD, but also realizing like I was out of a job because of it. So I kind of recreated this career of then helping other people feel strong, safe, powerful through personal training, through health coaching, through nutrition, you know, as I kind of moved along.
Yeah, that is powerful.
So the orange belt.
Yeah, let's go there.
The orange belt, chapter 3, is called Block the BS. So essentially the metaphor is on the mat, we learn and drill our blocking techniques because we realize the punches and kicks are coming faster and harder and more often. So in life, that's really like a metaphor for boundary setting and being able to powerfully set boundaries with people, places, things that drain you of your power and distract you from your purpose. Really two things. So I show folks that there's options, right? That's the biggest thing I want to leave you with is to remember that you have options on how you deal with people, how you set your boundaries. There's hard styles, there's softer styles, and everything in between, and all of it's good. you want to think about things like, how comfortable are you with confrontation? That might play into what type of boundary setting you're going to use. You may also want to think about your relationship to this person. Is it someone that you're going to see all the time, like the guy who's pounding upstairs on your, floor, your ceiling? You may not want to scream your head off at him because you're going to see him all the time, but there may be a better, even a more efficient way to set a boundary with him and stick up for yourself. Yeah. Options.
Yeah.
I just went on a total tangent.
No, it's okay. No, much of my audience are working moms too. So I think,
Right.
there's so much relationship between how they manage people at work, if they're in that management role, or even just are, dealing with coworkers, and then at home too. And I think knowing that it's not very black and white, like there are always going to be options and you get to choose, is powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more that you practice boundary setting with people, the more you stick up for yourself, for your family, for your kids, like the easier it becomes over time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not always comfortable.
No, it's not. And we don't like to go there if it's not comfortable.
Right.
Because change is hard and trying new things is hard. We get kind of stuck in our ways, which might not always be healthy. So
for sure. And you might have to set boundaries with your own kids.
Yeah, always.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Okay. And I know you have so many tactics too. I remember in our conference, we were getting up and moving around. So unfortunately we can't do this here.
Right. I know. Well, in the book, I call them out of your head exercises. So you actually practice these moves like you would in a dojo, but really it's really just to embody feeling strong in your body. And that I feel like because the mind-body connection is so strong, that you actually start to feel more confident, even though you're just doing these kind of moves in the bathroom mirror if you want to. But if you can visualize yourself kind of doing those moves when you walk into your boss's office and have to say, I need to leave to get home to soccer practice every Wednesday, or I'm not going to be answering emails over the weekend, or whatever kind of boundary you need to set, it could just feel a little easier when you put your whole body involved and not just think about doing it in your head.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of all of life too. It's you can know all the things, but until you put them into practice, you might not know where you might slip and fall. Right. And I think that whole body approach is so important because we're not different entities, your brain is connected to your heart, all of it, you're one body, and you need to use that movement and actually feel that power.
Sure.
Yeah, that's good. And well, actually, I think this is in the green belt. So I'll let you go on to the green belt.
Sure. So green belt level chapter 4 is about finding your roar, essentially your powerful form of communication. And in martial arts, we yell, right? We have what's called a kiap, which translates to spirited yell, on every punch and kick. And it helps accentuate the punch and kick. It helps possibly intimidate your opponent. I'm sure back in the day on the battlefields, that's what it was actually used for. So in this chapter, just kind of remind folks that we communicate with our body language, we communicate with our tone, we communicate obviously with the words that we choose to use every day. And most importantly, we communicate with ourselves, how we use our inner dialogue to really lead a powerful life, or not, right? Or just let that negative voice kind of take over and tell us we're not good enough, smart enough, et cetera, give us all those excuses.
Yeah, which women are really good at, right? Of listening to that negative inner voice.
Yes. Why?
I know. Why are we like this now? I love power poses. I think that they're so important, just jumping around, or the superwoman pose. I've been teaching my daughters that, it's just we have to empower that and visualize, who we want to be. And I think whatever you're facing, being able to take that posture and really just feel it into your body is important.
Well, again, I know you're teaching your daughters now. I know certain schools are teaching power posing and stuff like that, but that definitely wasn't taught to our generation.
Oh no.
Right?
We didn't talk about anything.
Yeah. It was, that just wasn't even a thing. So for me, it happened through the martial arts, but I think it's such an important lesson. And that's why I do it in my in-person talks and programming. And then in the book, I just have a good reminder there too, to remember, check in with your posture before you walk into that meeting, before you present to your client, before you walk in the door, even if you're feeling exhausted and need your space, check in with your body language. What are you communicating to the people around you non-verbally?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I still work from home and I don't have that commute to decompress on, it's like coming downstairs, which is like, what, 10 seconds. So it's like, and I'm not always good with this, but I try to, take a few deep breaths before I come down and engage my kids. Because otherwise, most moms do this, or most women, they just kind of run through the day and run through all the motions. And it's like, when have you stopped to take a breath for you and to check in?
Yep.
And like, just feel your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you're going to be headed for burnout, which is the next chapter.
Excellent.
Blue Belt level is about elevating your energy. And what I found so interesting at this point in my martial arts journey was that I started to learn about chi, right? CHI or QI or KI, depending on which language it comes from, but essentially your life force energy. And I started to think, well, that's so interesting that Eastern cultures have this philosophy. They even have exercises to help you regenerate your chi. They know that certain activities, foods, etc., will deplete your chi. And yet we don't even have a word for that or a sense of that at all.
No.
But we do know what burnout is, right?
Yes, we know hustle and grind.
Yeah, we know when the chi is depleted, we have a word for that, and it's burnout.
Yeah.
Again, like over the pandemic, I just kept thinking of everyone I know that is a mom. And I'm just like, I don't know how you're doing it all. I don't.
No.
And now everything's supposed to be back to normal, but it's not.
It's not. No, it's not. And and we're still juggling too many things and
taking on more responsibility.
Always. I mean, that's kind of the American way, right? Is do more, do it better, do it faster. And it's like, at what expense? Because we're all very burnt out.
Right. And again, Eastern cultures know at what expense. They'll know that you can literally burn out and physically. And that's, when you wind up at the doctor, like I have no energy and they look at you and they say, oh, everything's fine, go home. But, your hormone levels are probably all jacked up and all of that kind of stuff. So this chapter is really about self-care. And no matter what, no matter, mom, job, whatever, like you have to take care of yourself. You have to put yourself first.
Yeah.
When you do, everyone else benefits from that.
Yeah. Do you know Lisa Nichols? Do you know that speaker?
Yes.
Yes. I love, she has a saying of, pour from your saucer. So it's like, you were just so full that you were pouring from your overflow. And I love that visual because it's like, we have to take care of ourselves. And like you said before, it's like most women, most moms in the home, like set the tone for their family. So it's like, if you're unhappy, then don't expect everyone to be happy and it to be rainbows and unicorns. It's like, that's just not going to happen. So it is cliche, but to put on your oxygen mask first.
Totally. Your mood, your happiness, and your health at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
If you burn out and your health is shot, then you can't take care of everyone else.
And you're just modeling that it's okay to treat yourself like crap.
Exactly. And not prioritize yourself.
Yeah.
Good point.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. Easier said than done.
Right? Yeah.
But simple things.
Right. Yeah. So what are some tips?
Simple. Like, are you drinking enough water throughout the day? Like, are you eating whole foods? Are you watching your caffeine, sugar, and comfort food intake? Because those are the things over time that, especially when we're stressed, we reach for them more, I find. Again, over time, they're just going to wear out your adrenal glands and you're going to be left with nothing.
Yeah.
No energy.
Exactly.
Getting outside, getting some sunshine. Again, all these things are relatively low or no cost. Could be 5 minutes of your day.
Right.
But doing them can make such a big difference in your energy.
Yeah. I know. We take all of that for granted for sure. And overcomplicate it. It doesn't need to be.
Exactly. It really doesn't.
Yeah. That's good. Because I feel like I say that a lot to my friends and family, and they're like, whatever. Like they just think I'm crazy. I'm like, okay.
Oh gosh. No, I've been a health coach and a nutritionist now nutritionist since 2009, health coaching since 2005. And again, like I got burnt out of doing that because clients of mine would really like overcomplicate it. And I'm just saying like, no, it's really simple, right? It actually is pretty simple. Yeah. It's almost like they don't want it to be that simple. They want to overcomplicate it because then there's a good excuse not to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they just want the easy pill. And it's like, well, no, you just have to take action, be the leader of yourself.
Exactly.
And then the red belt, right? That's what comes next.
Yep. So red belt is about going within, connecting with your inner warrior, your warrior within. This is really about, again, slowing down, unplugging, having some type of mindfulness practice in your life. For me, that's meditation. For, I don't care what it is, journaling, yoga, breath work, whatever it is for you, find something that you enjoy and will commit to.
Yes.
Because really it's about consistency. And the more that you do it, just like going to the gym and lifting a weight becomes easier over time. But the biggest, I think, barrier, people's biggest excuse to doing like a mindfulness practice, like a meditation, say, would be that they don't have time.
Right.
What I want everyone to know is that the more you do the mindfulness, the more careful you are, the more intentional you are, the more space you have between a stimulus and a response. Now, all of a sudden, you're making less mistakes. You're more productive. You're actually saving yourself time in the long run, right? Than if you aren't.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like obsessed with my meditation practice now because it's changed my life. So I just want to like sing it from the rooftops.
Yeah. Well, I think people overcomplicate that as well. It's like, it doesn't have to be hours upon hours. Like you can stay in your bed and as your alarm goes off, like just put your hand on your heart for 5 minutes, and set an intention for the day, breathe, say a prayer, whatever you need to do. But like, you don't have to make it so hard.
Right. I know. That's true. You don't have to like go to a meditation school or class,
Yeah.
I thought it was cool, but those places, I'm just thinking about it, those unplugged places. Like, wow. I've never been, so I have nothing to say about it. But again, you don't have to go somewhere to learn that. You just, there's so many options.
Yeah. Yeah. And with YouTube these days, you could find something, right?
Yeah. I use Insight Timer as well.
Yeah.
Which is great, the free version. And there's just guided meditations when I feel like it. There's timers, all kinds of things.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of a silver lining in the pandemic. I think like Headspace and the Calm app became so common to use. And it's like, again, they're like 5 to 10 minutes. It's not a lot of time. And the benefits are going to outweigh like anything else.
Completely.
And just being more intentional with your time, the idea of like habit stacking, where I try to be like, okay, if I'm going to pick up my phone, let me take 3 deep breaths before I like jump into whatever black hole I'm going to find on my phone, but it's like, let me just remember that we're not just going through the motions every day and like checking out every time I get bored. It's like, let me check in with my body again.
Right. Good. Yeah.
Easier said than done. I get it. But
I know. I do like habit stacking though. I think it's a really good thing. For a while in the pandemic, I was like, would get out of my meditation and get right into a plank. I don't do it anymore. But I still do the meditation.
Yeah. We go through seasons where we're better. It's like, I definitely picked up some better habits during the pandemic just because we had more time. But now I'm like, oh yeah, I was kind of healthier back then somehow.
Right? Isn't it interesting how, I'm not sure everyone was healthier. I know.
No, it's true.
I know alcohol sales were up and all that kind of stuff. Bread baking was up for sure.
Yeah, I know. I definitely did that with my kids. It's like, let's make more bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing.
I know. We definitely were out hiking a lot too. That was one good thing that we discovered.
Nice.
And then what's next?
Okay. So the next one is the final one, which is black belt level. And essentially as a black belt in martial arts from the outside, or when I was coming up, through the ranks early on, you would assume that really black belt level was about like executing your forms properly, learning all the advanced techniques, weaponry, all the cool stuff, being able to take someone down. But really at the end of the day, what I learned was black belt level was really about leadership. It's about being a mentor, a teacher, a coach who helps others up through the ranks as well. So essentially, I mean, we could look at life like that too. Yeah. At some point, it's not just about climbing the ladders for ourselves. It's not about clambering our way to the top just for the sake of ourselves and maybe our family. Like, that's not a way to really live a fulfilled and purposeful life. Yeah. So it really becomes about, how can you take a stand for other people in your community, in the world, or just a stand for causes that you truly believe in. Maybe you're really passionate about pollution and the world, the earth, or maybe you're really passionate about finding a cure for a disease that took someone you love. Like, these are all ways that we get to contribute our resources, our time, our efforts, our skills, our strengths. And that, becomes, like I said, a more purpose-filled life.
Yes.
Purposeful and purpose-filled as well. Like when we're actually out there in the world doing these things. Now, one word of like caution is I like to talk about purpose. And I feel like a lot of times people feel very overwhelmed when they hear that word, like, oh, I have to find my purpose in life. Again, overcomplicating it. I think, and I believe that most of us have some kind of purpose, which is to contribute. Again, whether that be to other people, community, world, whatever, you'll find that give. And there's an exercise in the chapter that I have about finding your give, finding the things that you're really passionate about, that light you up, talking about them, that make you feel really defensive when you want to defend them.
Yeah.
Those are the ways that we get to be more purposeful. And it doesn't have to be our job. Again, we watch people create these careers and we're like, so, oh my gosh, envious. Look, I'm doing what I feel like I've created a career that has been very purposeful, but it hasn't over the years always paid the bills. It's really difficult. It's really challenging. And I don't recommend it to everybody.
Right. Yeah. Can be a lot of hard work.
Yeah. So get your job and your 401k and find purpose somewhere else.
Right.
I'm kidding. If you really have something that's like burning a hole in your soul that you must do and you must create, then go for it as well. But
no, for sure.
There's a balance.
Yeah. No. And I mean, I think a lot of people, whether it's purpose or happiness or joy, it's like they're always trying to find it. And it's like, well, it's something that you create too, right? Like if you want more happiness, well, how can you fit in more time in your day to do the things that make you happy? Like, again, we're overcomplicating it of, trying to seek happiness elsewhere when really it's all in your power.
Absolutely.
No, that's good. I think having that ownership, taking that ownership for yourself is important.
Yeah.
I know you have like in your book, The Greatest Shit List, which I love.
Yeah.
But that was back in the white belt.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's go back to that. And just how can we kind of pivot where we can acknowledge where we've been and how to move forward and really like look at where, like, kind of be grateful for like these crappy moments, but be like, okay, how do we look now forward of like what's coming in the future?
Are you saying like, how do we embrace the suck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there are actual steps, right?
Okay.
There's the theory like, oh yeah, let's just embrace the suck. Know that life is going to throw us challenges.
Yeah.
But then there are actually steps that I have and exercises you can do in the book. And everyone's favorite seems to be creating your greatest shits list.
Yeah.
And essentially that's just taking a look back into your past. For many of us, it was probably the last 3 years of a lot of sucky things that you had to deal with, and just writing them down and saying, like, to be clear, we're not thankful that all these terrible things happen to us, yet we can acknowledge ourselves for getting through them. And just, so really it's just a reminder like, oh yeah, I got through that. And that time that I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And, wow, I am so strong. And then it leads us into the second exercise in that chapter, which is about finding your secret weapons. So because of going through those difficult times, those items on your shit list, what did you gain from it? So was it insight? Was it strength? Was it perseverance, persistence, empathy, gratitude? I mean, there can be so many different things that you have gained because of those experiences, and then have that list as a reminder, right? As a reminder of how strong you are, how many gifts that you have to now share or now lean into if you need to in a future challenge that's coming your way, right? We have these strengths. And then finally, the third exercise in that chapter is kind of the opposite, which is writing down your greatest hits list, right? All the epic things that you've achieved, because I'm sure in your life you have achieved so many amazing things. So that list is a reminder, right? Anytime we're about to go down that downward spiral in our brains of, oh my God, life is the worst. Life is so hard.
Right.
My job sucks. I'm not good enough. All of that. It's like, take a look at that list and remind yourself that you have done epic things in the past, which only makes you more capable of doing them in the future.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I think maybe men do this too, but I feel like as women, we tend to just look at those failures, and you forget of all the great things you've done, where you've traveled, like just all your proudest moments where, and maybe it is because like we don't like to brag. I don't know, but it's like, that is your brag list essentially. And it's like, look at what I've done. Like I can move forward. I'm stronger than I think.
Absolutely. And it's good for your brain because our brain has a tendency to look for evidence of what we're telling it. So if we're telling it we suck, it's going to pull up, all of your failures, all of your challenges, all of the things and be like, look, see, I told you, you do suck.
Right.
Instead of looking at that greatest hits list and saying, you know what? Actually, I'm actually pretty badass.
Yeah, no, exactly. I know. Definitely look for the good. Yeah. I try to tell my kids that all the time too. Although my youngest is 9. So we look for hearts everywhere where like, it's just like a reminder of like, there's good people in the world. There's good things in the world. Like look for the hearts. And she always brings home like physical hearts. I'm like, okay, good. At least I'm getting something in there.
Love that. Love that. That's amazing. Separate subject, but have you taught your girls any kind of self-defense or how do you teach them about safety and self-defense?
I took them to jujitsu a couple times.
Nice.
Because I wanted to learn it for myself and I thought that they needed it. They didn't get into it as much as I wanted them to. So we'll try again. They're in gymnastics right now. But yeah, it's something definitely on my radar because again, like I was never taught it. My parents didn't seem to care, but that's just the world that we live in that I want them to know how to protect themselves. I want to know how to protect myself too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yes. Everyone out there listening, I definitely highly recommend just learning just even the very basics of self-defense because obviously the physical skills are helpful, but you'll probably never have to use them. And your kids hopefully will never have to use them. But it's more about the mental aspects of self-defense, like being more aware when you're out and about, being able to set boundaries, communicating your boundaries, de-escalating if you need to, running and hiding and doing all the things to keep yourself safe if you ever are in danger. So highly recommend.
Yes.
As that's the other part of my job.
Yeah, no, I know. I wish I'm in San Diego, so not that far away from you, but I wish I was closer. I would love to learn more of the martial arts. I think I've definitely been very naive in my life because I've traveled all over by myself and I've been safe, thank God, but it's like, I could have put myself in danger and unaware.
I get it. Me too. Yeah. And here by the grace of God are we, right?
Yes, I know. But now like as a mom, it's like, oh yeah, you should know these things because I don't want you out in the world. Like it just seems like a more dangerous place, which I'm sure my mom thought the same thing. But
I'm sure.
I feel like times have changed. But yeah, we've covered a lot and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for today. Where can my audience find you and find your book and all that?
Yeah. So the book, The Art of Badassery, Unleash Your Mojo with Wisdom of the Dojo is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, hopefully in your local bookstore. Not sure. I'm mostly on Instagram at Jenn Cassetta, 2 N's, 2 S's, 2 T's, and LinkedIn.
Okay, great. No, LinkedIn's great. I feel like people don't use it enough.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Less toxic stuff over there.
Right? I know. People are definitely more professional, which is the whole point. Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Erin. Thanks, everyone.
It was so fun to sit down with Jenn to learn more about her and how to live a badass life. I'd love to know your biggest takeaways from our conversation. Please send me an email at hello@pghparenting.com or hunt me down on Instagram at pghparenting. If you're curious to learn more about Jenn or to grab her book, check the links in the show notes. Please also share this episode with your bestie, your yoga buddy, or your boss so that more parents can grow alongside their kiddo like you. Sending you much love. See you next time.